In this video, we're going to examine increasing and decreasing intervals. So we're not talking about domain or range, we're talking about intervals. So what I want you to think about with intervals, and I'm going to just make a little note on here. Let's do it down where it says domain and range, because we're not talking about domain and range today. We're talking about intervals. And so when I'm talking about interval, what I'm talking about is what input causes the function to increase or decrease. So when I'm talking about increasing or decreasing, I'm talking about the output. So increasing, if we think about increasing, that's going up, so it will have some sort of positive slope, and decreasing will have some sort of negative slope. And it really doesn't matter which way the arrows are pointing. Okay? So that's what we want to think. Increase is a positive type slope, decrease is a negative type slope. So interval, we're talking about the input, and the input is our x value, okay? Which means we will be looking at the x-axis. So the first thing I want to do is let's look and see which part of this function is increasing. Well, I'm always going to think left to right when I'm doing this. So from here to here is an increase. And then my decrease is from here to here. Okay? So we can see my yellow is my increase and my orange is my decrease. Now, like in the previous video with range and domain, I'm going to use my ruler. So since interval is my input values, I'm only interested in my x values, and I find my x values on my x-axis. So I hold my ruler so when I slide it, it's always touching my x-axis. So I'm going to start on the far left. I see here that my function does not begin. It doesn't continue going down. It doesn't begin until here. Okay? So as I'm sliding my ruler, it begins right here. And you can see the yellow. So as I keep going, I'm just going to keep moving my ruler as long as it's touching the yellow until it gets here. And that's the end of the yellow right there. Okay? So I could go ahead and do an axis up here if I wanted to, but it might be better for me to go ahead and just highlight that part of the x-axis. So that part of the x-axis, the yellow corresponds with the yellow on my function. So this is positive. So this is positive. I'm going to write positive. So that's a positive interval from -4 all the way to 1. So let's just go ahead and do what I suggested anyways. Let's just write this up here. That's my x-axis. And just like before, this is starting at -4, not including, because this is open, and it goes to here, which is 1, and then this here is a positive increase, positive interval. Now, from here, I'm touching the orange, 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 orange is decreasing until I get to here. Okay, so this is decreasing. I'm going to take my orange and I'm going to highlight the corresponding part of the x-axis. I'm going to do that here too. So that part there was corresponding to the orange. This part here is corresponding to the yellow. So this decreases at 3. That's a decrease. Okay, so notice the stops. There's no arrow there, so I have to stop at 3. And if I'm going to be consistent, I would do this. Although with interval notation, it doesn't matter if it hits it or not. When I'm talking about increasing and decreasing intervals. So this is an increasing interval. So where does my interval increase? So my increasing interval is from, we'll write it right here, -4 to 1. That's my increasing interval. And my decreasing interval is from 1 to 3. So from 1 to 3, that is my decreasing interval. Okay? So what I want to point out, these are not points. This is saying my x value starts at -4, and as long as I'm putting in values between 1 and -4, my output is going to go up. And as long as I put in values between 1 and 3, my output is going to go down.